resonates big with me, and it's resonated big with me for a few years of really understanding what it means. But if I want to be free, I've got to be me. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. It sounds silly almost saying it. It's no truer words have ever been uttered.
Thank you for coming here.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this with you.
Yeah. You're a deep guy.
Thanks, brother.
You're a deep guy. You could just feel, with some people, you just feel their wisdom just with how they communicate. Did you always have that?
I've always thought and felt really deeply about life, like from the time I was a little kid. I was always at one point took it very seriously, and that's turned into taking it with utter sincerity, and that distinction, and letting go, learning how to let go, learning how to surrender to what is, learning how to surrender to God and not take it so, because when we're serious, we're like this. We're holding the wheel tight. But with sincerity, you can be really honest and genuine and deeply feeling about life, because life is so immense, It can be really painful, really, really deeply painful, and also ecstatically joyous. And I think for me, the journey has been coming to find peace in myself, reconciling in myself, just all the parts that seemed not good enough or not valid or not okay, all of that stuff. And really, since leaving football, my journey has been clearing away all the stuff that's kept me from seeing the truth of the core, And I think everybody who's ever known me would say, oh, Eb's always been a deep guy. Eb's always been a deep thinker, deep feeler, very sensitive. My dad used to tell me from the time I was a little kid, like, Eb, you're so sensitive, in a good way.
Interesting.
And I think in our culture, we can take sensitivity to be this weakness or this vulnerability. But when you're deeply sensitive, you're deeply in tune with what's going on, the energies of other people, the energies of situations, what's going on around you. And so I've learned and am learning, continuously learning, how to turn that sensitivity into a gift, over and over again.
Yeah. It's amazing because for me growing up, there was no role model of a sensitive, emotionally intelligent man who was also strong. And I've realized that's kind of become what this podcast is as I've stepped more into that role and realized that that's what I felt like I lacked as a child, and therefore that's what I'm here to serve and give. That has attracted people into my life like yourself, who really are setting a new frame and a new role, a new model for what's possible for the modern man. And I think you very much represent that ethos. And it's like a lot of men, myself included, are not going to turn on a Brene Brown talk and be like, I can't wait to watch this. And no shame against Brene Brown.
Totally.
But when you see it in a package that is like, okay, I can get behind this. And I think you represent that package.
I appreciate that, man.
So what were some of the most difficult parts of yourself to let go of?
I would say that I haven't necessarily let go of any parts of myself. I've really come to terms with and learned to love every part of myself. and constantly doing that over and over again. And when I played football, I mean, just using my life experience as the example, football for me was always this vehicle to prove how big and scary and tough I was, prove that I was enough to the world, to conquer the world, to dominate. And through the process of trying to prove that, I totally destroyed myself. And when you're doing something that isn't anchored in love and truth and your deep divine purpose, you're not grounded in anything real. There's no foundation beneath your feet. So when things get hard, you turn to vices, what we would call vices, alcohol, substances. For me, it was alcohol, it was weed, it was women, strip clubs, all of that stuff. And I caused a lot of damage doing that, living that way. There's a lot of havoc. I wreaked a lot of havoc in my life, in my relationships, in my marriage, with old friends, all the way through that. I had to really take serious stock of when I came out of football and really acknowledge what I had done and how I'd been living and how it needed to change, and at first, I think when we leave anything, any big career, big relationship, there's this, for me, there was shame around it. There was guilt around it. I hadn't done necessarily what I thought I had set out to do, which was maybe play 10 years, be one of the best offensive linemen to ever play, win a Super Bowl, all of these things. Didn't really do any of that. Had some bad injuries, had a bad back injury, ruptured disc in my spine, dislocated shoulder, multiple surgeries, all of this stuff. And so coming out of football, I'm 28 years old, 6 years in the NFL, 15 years in the game of football. And I felt totally broken down. And people would say to me, "Hey man, you're still young. Why aren't you still playing? You could still play. You still got it." And I'd think, man, fuck. And it just crushed me. It was crushing. My soul was crushed. I had no idea how to relate to anything in my world with the football removed, And little by little, I mean, it was because leaving football was this relief at first. I'd come to the end of this road, and now I had the much anticipated life in front of me. Like, oh, I get to be a human being now. No idea what that meant at all, because I have no idea who I am, what I like, what I'm interested in, how to make a decision based on my own intuitive sense rather than what somebody else wanted me to do. And so around 2016.
Wow, this is all in the last 10 years. This is incredible.
Oh yeah. I mean, the journey really, it's been about eight years or so of this new repatterning process, which I feel like, interestingly enough, like we were talking before we got started about this really big thing that's alive for you. And this thing that's really alive for me is settling into the reprogramming that I initiated 8 years ago. Yeah. And how disconcerting that can be at times, and uncomfortable. Because it's like, where do I go? The old paradigm doesn't work anymore. It doesn't fit, So around 2016, I couldn't get to the gym enough. I couldn't drink enough alcohol. I couldn't smoke enough weed. There wasn't enough porn. Like, none of the escape valves were working anymore, and my whole life just came crashing over me. And I needed help big time, And I found myself in a 12-step group, Al-Anon for families of alcoholics. my disease wasn't a drinking disease, it was a thinking disease. And so I walked into this first Al-Anon meeting. It was a men's meeting, and heard this guy start to share and just talk about his childhood. And it was like he was telling the story of my childhood, and I went in there in this dark cloud, and 5 minutes into his share, my heart was just burst open, and I spent the next 60 minutes sobbing, and felt like when I came out of that church, this beautiful church in the Hollywood Hills, it's like really a sacred place, it's tucked away. You would never know it was there. And I came out of there and I felt like I could breathe for the first time in my life.
What was so deeply impactful about it?
It was recognizing that I wasn't the only one in the history of the world who felt these things. Felt like I had to take care of everybody. I couldn't be free because I had to chain my decisions to other people's well-being, And so learning that and recognizing I'm a human being, it's the recognition of, dude, it's okay. It's okay. Because the only one really beating yourself up was me. I was just beating the shit out of myself, and then recognizing like, Eb, you're a human being, man. You're worthy of love. You're worthy of goodness. You're worthy of light. You're worthy of compassion and peace. And it started this process, going to 12-step, going to Al-Anon meetings, working a program. And it was around the time I got a sponsor, was doing the steps, going through them one by one. We get to the take your inventory step 4, step 5, and my sponsor had me write out my life story. And it was like this psychedelic explosion into reality of looking at my life, how I viewed everything, all the relationships in it, the things that had happened to me, the childhood in the family of alcoholism, all of this stuff came billowing out. And I had this opportunity to see my life through a completely new lens, and like the stories that I had about what was possible for me and the beliefs that I held about what life was, it just all got brought out into the light, and I got to see it. And I must have been high on that for at least a year of just like, oh, I can see now, and from there, kept doing that group work, which is, that was the foundation of everything I've done since then. Meeting a handful of mentors who have been really important guides for me, a couple of men who were able to just point me in the direction of myself, and some plant medicine and into therapy. And then therapy led me back to yoga, which I'd been doing since I was 10. My mom brought me to yoga class when I was 10, thank God. So I had this healing arts lineage, ingrained in my DNA from the time I was a little kid that I just sort of gravitated back towards when I was ready for it. And therapy led me into meditation. And then meditation is really, that's been the key that's unlocked it all, and I know you talk about that a lot, but meditation has been the thing. I've been meditating every day for the last 7.5, 8 years, and I'm a radically different person than I was when I started. Completely different inside and out, and so I don't know where we are, but
okay. We're at the perfect place always. And what's so cool, and I want to point out and reflect to you, is that I've sat across hundreds of people and thousands really over the past few years, not on this podcast and on this podcast. And you can just feel when somebody is deeply at peace with themselves. And when somebody is deeply at peace with themselves, you want to be the most deeply at peace with yourself as well. And it inspires you to drop into presence, inspires you to drop into the authentic version of who you are.
Yeah.
And so that to me comes from doing all of this work.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's been my experience, at least.
Yes.
And I could really feel that. And I hope someone listening can feel that or watching can feel that. But it's the real truth of my experience right now. I can feel you're good with you. And you don't need me to be anything for you to be okay.
Uh-huh.
That's a powerful place to operate from.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
How do more people operate from that place?
Well, this is something I was talking to my buddy Cal about. Uncle Cal.
My buddy Cal. Incredible. My dad Cal. My soul dad Cal. Incredible, man.
Yeah, Cal's the best. Cal Callahan, shout out. Check out his pod, The Great Unlearn. We did an episode on Monday and we were talking about this, and he's coming through his own trials and tribulations, as all of us are, man. At one moment or another, we all are. And these practices are so essential. And I mentioned to you earlier, you had such a great soundbite on discipline and Jocko Willink's idea of discipline equals freedom, which is 100% real. I remember hearing that 6-7 years ago when he said it, and it was so true in my experience because I was essentially living like a monk. You know, wake up, breath work, yoga, meditation, water, fasting, clean eating, just like purifying myself. And it takes that. And there's an interesting thing with a lot of the spiritual gurus, whom I love, so many of them. So many have been my teachers. I mean, Ram Dass, Osho, Sadhguru. And there's an idea of self-realization as being the spontaneous awakening that can happen at any moment, takes zero process. For me, it's been a process, and there's been a purification that's been necessary for me to get to where I'm at, purifying my body, because I had to purify my body to get to the place where I recognized that my mind was clouded and filled with chaos and nonsense. So then I could work and purify my mind, which then allowed me to get to a place where I'm getting to a spiritually purified place, which, if that means anything to me, it means you are utterly present. You're constantly, intentionally present in the moment. And so you're in the flow, you're more fluid. You're not holding on to stuff because your mind's 1,000 miles away and your body's right here in this place, you know, because your subconscious then is just going to absorb all of this stuff that's coming into it. And reprogramming your subconscious, reprogramming my whole belief system has been an immensely important part of me getting to this place where I'm at now. And yes, you can say right now, I have complete unconditional love and acceptance of myself. For me, it's been a process, and it's been these practices, daily, discipline with the practices, the meditation in particular, the breath work, hand in hand with that, then my movement practice, making sure I sweat every day, cleaning up my nutrition, drinking plenty of water. I don't drink alcohol. I use cannabis here and there. I use microdose psilocybin here and there. But purifying my body to get to a place where I'm anchored in this moment, and whatever that may be, getting good with it. Because it's not always going to be, it's blissful. It's perfect, man. It's perfect. It's all good. Some days you wake up and you don't feel very good. That's when we can lean on the practices. You can lean on your practices. You can lean on your discipline, because those give you the structure by which you can develop yourself and continue to develop yourself. Now, for me, it comes with the added component is this constant pouring on of the goodness, getting back into gratitude. Because we can always things go awry all the time. Things go out of the linear trajectory of our plans every single day. And so when that happens, how are you going to be? Are you going to say, we're fucked? We're fucked. Can't do it, man. That happened. We're done. Or are you going to say, okay, interesting that happened. Now I guess we're going to do this. Yeah. We're going to pivot. We're going to do something new. We're going to try something else. And so for anyone I think that for me, I had to get to the place where I was at rock bottom. One of those mentors that has been really important to me, he said to me, Eb, we can evolve through pain or through insight. And he said, it seems like in this realm, in this dimension where we find ourselves, it's got to be pain. Now, that being said, I've really evolved myself to the point where now I can evolve through insight.
That's right.
I don't have to experience the car hitting the side of the wall. I don't have to experience the big thing, the total breakdown, which I've been body slammed by the universe more times than I can count. You don't have to do that because you go, I see. Yeah, got the message. Got the message, God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I'll start doing it differently. But it takes some time to get to the place where you're in alignment enough to be able to answer that call right away, and we come into bigger and bigger challenges in our life,
It's like you've let go of a lot. Great. Now here's another thing that's even bigger that the version of you 6 months ago couldn't have handled.
Exactly. Here's the bigger challenge, for me, moving to Texas, big, scary thing. Took a big leap of faith. Took a lot of trust. I grew up in LA.
Yeah.
Grew up in LA. I've been there for a long time. LA felt like home for a long time up until about 3 or 4 years ago, where it just started to feel too dense. Too much environmental stress. I could feel it in my body when I'm there. Back hurts, hips hurt, knees hurt, brain fog, uninspired, heavy. It's environmental stress, especially when I go, you know what? That's weird. When I go and travel to these places where I'm out in nature, one day out of LA, and it's a night and day difference. It's a 90% reduction in pain and stiffness and heaviness. That can only be environmental. I don't change what I eat. I exercise every day, on the plane, off the plane, so what's the difference? It's got to be environmental or something there. Maybe a spiritual, as I always say to my mom, because anytime, it's a beautiful part of our relationship and in our family of this lineage of healers and yogis and witches and understanding any physical ailment you're experiencing is the sign, is a physical manifestation of a spiritual ailment. And so whatever that might be, the things that you're holding on to psychically, or you're holding on to something, some habit that is inhibiting you, or a bad relationship, or you're in the job that feels like a grind that's not in your purpose. I mean, how many men are going around doing that? I feel like that's 90% of our battle as men, is to fucking just follow our heart, man. Why do so many men have heart attacks? They're not following their heart. Their heart's closed down. It's hard. It's not open and soft and filled with love and inspiration because they haven't followed their spirit since they were little boys. And so half the battle as men is tapping into our purpose and figuring out what the fuck we're going to do when we wake up every day. It's not to say that we have to work. Bob Proctor says this incredible thing. We're not made for work. Work is made for us. We're here to be of service. Why did we get that so twisted? That we just have to grind out our lives And yes, we have to make money, you know?
And yes, we have to be disciplined to do the thing that
Exactly.
we don't want to do sometimes and do it anyway.
Exactly.
And still, let it be fun.
Yes. Whatever that means, you know? And once again, I think that can be interpreted as, oh, well, Eb wants everybody to be an artist or a social media influencer. It's like, dude, you could be a janitor. You could be a barista. You could be, you know, work at a car shop, but do something that you love and be of service in it. You know what I mean? So I don't know how I got on that rant about the heart, but it's a real thing, you know, and that's part of that for me. That's been such an important aspect of becoming whole, recognizing my wholeness. It's like, I got to follow this and nothing but this. So when my spirit is gravitationally pulling me towards openness, nature, space, out of LA, for me to go ahead and sign another lease in LA would be death. I'd be going against everything happening inside my body. Now, moving away sounds really scary. I've got family, I've got people, I've got a child that I'm responsible for and to, and that's a challenge, you know, and it's a day-by-day process where I'm committed to going back and forth to LA for as much as I need to, you know, to spend time with my daughter who's 12, and she needs me. I need her at this stage in our lives, you know, and she's very important to me. And so, but making that soul decision and going, I'm going to have faith that this is going to work out, because my rational mind, my logical mind is going, Eb, this is fuck, dude. No way. Can't do it. You can't live in Texas and try to be a dad, bro. I go, well, we'll see what God has to say about it. And we'll find a way. We'll find a way. And all of us, I mean, these things happen all the time. We're constantly coming into contact with an opportunity to reveal the truth of our lives. You know, in our relationships, in our work. When we wake up every day, we have an opportunity to reveal who we are.
And so how do we make the decision that is most true to our heart?
You got to be willing to get out of your head and into your body and feel what's going on. Got to be willing to do that. And I think a lot of people, that was part of the process for me, was getting out of my head and out of the conditioning, out of the ideas about what's right, what's good. I got to go to mom, dad for validation rather than move from my insides out. A lot of us were working from the outside in, you know? And so it's like, once again, going back to your comments on discipline equals freedom, you have to have the discipline, but you have to cultivate that discipline, man. How many people, you know, you come into contact with people all the time that they don't have any discipline. So they don't have any discipline to sit in 5 minutes of meditation, or to stay on a workout plan, or to stay on a nutritional plan. And so how are they going to have any discipline when they're feeling something really big inside? And you're standing in front of another person and they're looking at you to give them something, and you just want to fulfill that need for them to make them feel okay, rather than just express what's true here. Because maybe that'll hurt their feelings, or maybe that's too honest or too real. Now, I don't think we need to go around just cutting people down. That's not what I'm saying here. Men and women in particular, men in our relationships with women in particular, a lot of men want to appear to be like the fun guy, the guy who's like romantic and cute and sweet, that he wants everybody to fall in love with him. So you say you treat women in a certain way that feeds these. Women are very deeply feeling beings. You know, they're different than us, for sure. Women are deeply feeling. So when we're in romantic partnership with a female, one of the most disingenuous things you can do, and this, I speak from experience, I've done this. Rather than say what's true, hey, maybe this relationship isn't good for me. You go and be physically intimate with them just because you're trying to get something that you want. Essentially lying to them with your body. And building up this idea that there's a future between you two, when deep down you know there isn't. And not expressing that. Not having the courage to express that truth to a woman. So one of the most disingenuous things we do as men. We've done it for hundreds of years, thousands of years, manipulating women. And so, like for me, that's this big thing that you were talking about earlier, this emergence of a new male. And what does that mean? Because that idea has come into my mind frequently. Where does masculinity reveal itself in the modern era? Because men, we don't have our purpose of hunting, providing food for the tribe. We can go and do that, but it's not purposeful in terms of the survival needs of our clan. And we don't have to protect our territory from invaders anymore. Our two primordial purposes, we're completely disconnected from those. So where does masculinity reveal itself in the modern age? It reveals itself in the integrity of our word, to be the mountain, to be the bastion of truth and reality, of solid ground.
Yes. That
people trust. Because when you don't speak with integrity now, especially as a man, people go, that's a little boy. Nothing he says is real. Nothing is honest or true because he said this and he did that. And so as men, it's like masculinity being the mountain, being this container that the divine feminine can move through and enliven and bring to life. That's what the feminine does. It's the void, man. Life comes out of the void. It fills the space with energy. The masculine creates this container, this space for the divine feminine to move in. But that container can't exist if there's no truth. And the truth is in the word, because we live in this age of psycho-spiritual existence.
Thinking, reason.
Exactly.
The mind.
Yes. And our word is our creationary tool. It's a creationary vibration. When we speak, that creates an entire world inside another person's mind.
And so, for me, what sticks out is you want, as a man, to build the biggest container you can for yourself, and also to bring a woman into it, if that's where you're going.
Right.
And it's like, how do you build the container?
Exactly. And discipline, for me, it's funny you said we got on this discipline talk, because I've said before on podcasts, and of course, you know, the clip gets cut and people go, well, women need to be disciplined too. And no doubt about it. Discipline is essential for a man. It's essential in this day and age. Dude, at every turn.
I know.
At every turn, there's a thing for us to fuck off on. Lose focus. Get weak. Get soft. Every turn, dude. The older you get, you face it, it gets even heavier, man. Because
you have
for
the
me,
excuse.
Yeah.
I'm a 40-year-old.
I'm older, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I played 15 years of football.
I don't need
a break.
It's so funny, because I had this as a boy, thinking like, I'm a 28-year-old boy, so therefore I don't need to do this. And so it's not an age thing. It's just our little bitch voice that's saying, like, you can just take the easy route here.
You're good, bro. You're good. You don't need to be hard and disciplined and strong. But the problem is, it's like a cliche meme at this point with the motivational crowd, but every time you hit the snooze button, you get softer. You hit the snooze button over and over again. And we do that in a lot of places in our life. It's not just when we wake up. We're hitting the snooze button. I'll do it later.
Yeah.
I'll do it later. What happens? You never do it. You never end up doing it. So then you build up this repetition of not doing anything. And then you're not working the job that's in your purpose. You don't feel purposeful with your life. You're grinding out your life. You hit the snooze button, so you're not accountable to yourself. You don't feel any sense of pride because you don't do anything. And so then what are you going to do? Yeah, dude, you're going to drink. You're going to go to porn. You're going to fucking take drugs because God forbid there's got to be some joy in this life. Where else are we going to get it, Danny? If you don't have any strength, like how many dudes, man? It's an interesting thing. I mean, it's an interesting thing to look at men. There's more out here than in California. I'll say that.
More what?
Men who look like men.
Yeah.
Men who look like they're physically accountable to themselves. Yeah. Men who are upright. Men who look like they're strong and can handle themselves. I mean, my brother and I talk about it all the time on the Ebb and Flow. We say, like, dude, where are the men? Like, we walk around to Whole Foods in LA. I look like a superhero.
Yeah, you do.
Literally.
But like, why? Like, why is that?
Why am I an anomaly?
Right.
It shouldn't be that way. Like, this is this new weird phenomenon, and it's just because we've got so many distractions to divert our attention. And so it requires, it's the time that we live in is so treacherous. It's so treacherous because the slope is so slick. Yeah. Every turn, there's somewhere to just nosedive into softness, easiness, orgasm, pleasure, joy, fast food. Like, it's mind-blowing. Yeah. You have to work really hard. And that's what sets you apart. Yeah. And I think also, just like what you're doing with I want to come to it, by the way. This 7 a.m. Tuesday morning run.
Come through.
Running's not my favorite thing, dude, but I was like, I'll come and fucking run with Danny.
Let's fucking go.
The Godspeed Run Club.
Yes.
But creating these spaces, these communities for men. It's like Cal's men's group that I feel so blessed to be a part of. Like, I realize I've gone and hung out at this men's group the last 2 Monday nights, and I'm like, dude, I haven't hung out with men in like 10 years since football. Like, just a group of men who are solid guys. We're not there drinking beer. We're hanging out. We're doing sauna. We're maybe jumping in the ice tub. We're shooting the shit, but we're talking about business. We're talking about what we're doing with our lives. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about what's going on, what we're struggling with. Not in any like Herculean effort either, We're not there to prove something. We're just there to spend time with some guys that we trust. Like, I can say anything in this room and I won't be looked at any less for saying this, feeling this, going through this thing right here, right now, And that's a really important thing for men to have these spaces. I know men's work in particular is super alive for me.
Me too, man.
No, I know. I see that. And I love that.
Like, I love that. I used to be someone who judged people who hosted retreats. So of course that's going to be my path, right?
Yeah.
Little side note, whatever you're judging is your future.
I love
that.
If
you are willing to dive deeper into the truth of who you are.
I love that.
Anyway, I hosted this retreat a week ago, and I'm like, men's retreat, 15 guys, and the transformations that take place are so real that change generations and change how people talk to their parents and change sibling dynamics and change friendships that I'm like, holy God. This is so important, and this is needed so deeply to be held with love and compassion. As you say, the deepest truth that you don't want to say, bro, you will never be the same.
Yeah.
And so it's holy work is the only way I can think about it.
No
and it's
doubt.
like, I'm being called to do as many of these as I possibly can because this is important for healing the world.
Absolutely.
And so you've been doing it for quite some time.
I agree, man.
I was probably judging you while you were doing them. What the fuck does this guy think he could host a retreat for?
Yeah. So I get it, bro. I get it. I'm sure I might not have been. I mean, I've had plenty of judgment, dude. And what's funny is my process has taken me to this place where when I find myself judging a person, I immediately send them a text or send them some love, send them something positive. And it's so funny, dude. It's such a funny, powerful, profound switch. Because in the past, I would have just mired, like, look at this fucking asshole, man. Look at this guy. The fuck? Why the fuck do 20 people show up at this fucking guy's event? Why the fuck is he so successful? XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And now when that little voice comes up, because it comes up, dude. Comes up, I go, hey, bro, how you doing? Oh, okay. You feel like, hey, it's a tough day. Feel like maybe what we're doing isn't working out right now. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to send this guy a text, because it's all about me.
Story.
That's the acceptance and love part, man. It's like whatever the thing is that comes up, you make friends with your demons, dude. Yeah. Another way to put it, like you just rewire the relationship with it.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I see, dude. Yeah. We're hurting right now. We're a little tired. It's all good. We can be tired. We can rest. Maybe today's a rest day. We've been busting our ass, Okay, we could take a rest day. Just take it easy. And then inevitably you go and you get a great workout in later in the day. Or you get some work done later in the day. But you give yourself that moment. You just come into acceptance. You come into fucking acceptance of what is here and now. Okay. I woke up this morning, I feel a little heavy, I feel a little beaten down, I feel like things aren't going my way right now. Okay. All right. Rather than doing the old thing, try to steamroll through it and just get to the thing and have your coffee and get outside and go and
ignore the emotion.
Which sometimes is good.
Right.
Sometimes just throw your shoes on, go for a run.
Right.
Get the fuck out. Change your physical state. Change your mental state. And sometimes we just need to surrender to what is. Always surrender to what is. And what does that look like? But when you allow it, it's a good friend of mine, he would call it, you come into Christ consciousness. You just come right here.
I literally started reading about that from Paul Selig last night. Are you familiar with his work?
Yeah. I don't know. Channeling.
Yeah. It's like, he was talking about Christ consciousness. I've never done his work or heard it, but.
This is it, man. This is it.
It's what we're here to do.
Yeah, this is God's work, This is God's work. Coming to Christ consciousness, which is like you take all the disparate parts of yourself, because there's all these things fighting for your attention, right? There's your ego. There's the programmed idea of your mom and dad's desires for you in your life. There's your teacher from first grade. There's so-and-so. There's your ex-girlfriend. There's your new girlfriend. There's your kid. There's like a million personas are pulling at you to move you in a certain direction, And so how well can we hone coming to center? And meditation is the ultimate practice for that, because you start out meditating and you're like, oh man, this is great. I can think. Oh, wow. I can feel. I feel stuff. I think also, wow, interesting. I'm not freaked out about the phone call I got to make later or the million things I got to do today. I got to get the car taken care of and I got to go to work and I got to XYZ. I gotta. And you just come into this place of what's here right now in front of me. And then eventually the meditation transcends all of that, and you get to this place where you're just witnessing everything that's happening, dude. You don't have to do anything about it. The reaction has been taken out of your operating system because now there's this space. And that can be disconcerting. That can be a disconcerting experience because there's, for me, and especially it depends. I was talking to this guy in the men's group about this on Monday, and he had this total explosion into non-duality. He was spent 2.5, 3 years in prison. If he wanted to do a podcast, Danny, I'd tell you, you got to do a podcast with him. And I'm trying to convince him to talk about it. He went to prison for a couple years, basically started meditating 8-9 hours a day. It's about all he could do. He had Lyme disease when he went in there, couldn't eat anything, was basically starving and fasting, unintentionally fasting, but starving and meditating, and had this complete explosion into non-duality. And, talking to him about it gave a lot of context to my experience of things that I've experienced and come into contact with over the last 7-8 years of my own meditation practice, and included with that my experience, my relationship with meditation, yoga, and plant medicine, and where those places have met, and having spent significant amount of time immersed in all three of those dimensions, and having these non-dual experiences that I've tasted and spent some time in, but not to the extent that he's spent it in. And you come into this place, you go so far out in consciousness that there is no thing. It's all one. There is no existence. And that can be terrifying. And especially if you're somebody who's doing a meditation practice on your own, like me, I imagine like you've had some people who say, hey man, try this, or you've read the books, you've listened, you start experimenting. You just start experimenting because you're like, there's something here. What I taste when I come into my meditation is something that I really crave. This is something I want. I want more of this. And so when you don't have a teacher, it's the same as not having a shaman when you're doing plant medicine. It can be the same because you can have these deeply spiritual experiences where you completely dissolve through the physical experience of your life and come into all is one. I'm not even doing anything. This is just the universe happening through me, which is an intense experience. And it can feel like, what do I even do? What do I hang my hat on? I don't have anything to hang my hat on. There's no ground beneath my feet. So where do I go? What do I latch my life onto? Because we kind of need to have that in the Western, if we're going to choose to not be in a cave on a mountain meditating all day. Like, I choose to be in a relationship. I choose to be a father. Like, I choose to show up for people and be of service to the world. And so I need to have something that I can sort of hang my hat on, as it were, as far as like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I do. And so that's, when you start to drift into those territories, that's like where meditation takes a whole other turn.
Yeah. I feel like I feel the sweat rising in my body because I feel called to share a story with you.
Yeah, dude.
That I'd love some guidance on or thoughts on based on how much you've experienced life.
Mm-hmm.
Bro. Because when you talk about, when you're doing this alone, you don't have someone to guide you through it in some sense. So I'll give you the rundown where I spoke to Cal about this and on his podcast for the first time.
Uh-huh.
This is the first time I'm mentioning this story on my podcast.
Okay. I'm honored, dude.
So I went to my first plant medicine ceremony on January 26th.
This year?
This year.
Okay.
And I saw a white light, and this is, about an hour or two into the ceremony. I see a white light, and my mantra is, I love you, God. I love you, God. I love you, God. I love you, God, over and over and over again. And then I love you, God turns into, I love you, Jessica. I love you, Jessica. I love you. Who is Jessica? Is what I asked the white light. It's like, that's your future wife. It's like, okay, when am I going to meet Jessica? This week. It's like, okay, that's good information to know. The next day, I go on another plant medicine ceremony. It's a 2-night thing. And a woman comes up to me, and I start telling her about the vision that I had. And she's like, that's so great. I'm so happy for you. And then a minute goes by, and she goes, my name used to be Jessica. Okay. That's good information to know as well. It's like, what's your name now? Her name now is Sloan, which probably doesn't mean anything to you, but it's my mother's maiden name.
Wow.
And I've spent the last 5 weeks or 6 weeks with Sloan, formerly Jessica, and I'm more in love with this woman than I've ever been with any woman that I've ever spent time with.
Amazing, dude.
What is that? Like, what is your perspective of what that is? As somebody who, just a year ago, I thought there was a possibility of God, but not knowing what. And I don't know what this is going to manifest or unfold. I just know that the deepest part in me knows that this woman feels and hits me deeper and sees me deeper than any woman I've spent time with, and I see her the same.
Mm-hmm.
The way she asks questions, the way she has presence, and she's just such a bright light in my life. Like, that's the best way to describe her. She's a bright light.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would have a vision the day before that I was going to meet my future wife. Bro, what is that? What's going on? Can you give me your perspective for all the 8 years of work you've done on yourself and all the situations that have unfolded? Like, I have my own answers on what I think is happening, but what do you hear and what do you feel when you hear that?
I know it's possible. I've experienced this similar thing, man. Simply put, that's God.
Yeah.
That's God, man. That's God, and that's a testament to you learning how to love yourself, and you attracted this person into your life. They just came into your life because they resonate on the same frequency that you're buzzing at inside, I mean, I would advise not trying to figure it out.
Yeah. That's right.
And because I've had this thing that I've been coming to terms with over the last couple of years, having fallen into a similar situation with a soulmate, life partner type person. It was just, I didn't even know a relationship could be like this. And recognizing also through some business opportunities that have come to me only in the last 3 months, where this part of me goes, what's going on here? Why? Huh? Wait, me? What do they want? What's going on, dude? And letting go of that voice, that idea that I'm not worthy of goodness. I'm worthy of this. Like, I deserve all the goodness, all the miracles of life, and just letting go, surrendering, falling into that, And it's been miraculous. It's miraculous, dude. When you keep showing up the way you show up, you keep showing up like that, dude, changes how people around you operate, It changes who comes into your life. I've had some intense experiences with relationships in the last few years that, have not been what I expected. Good, bad, indifferent, each going from mending relationships that I thought could never be mended to ending relationships that I thought would never end. And being really clear about that and going, oh, wow, yeah, I don't allow this voice in my head. I don't allow this type of communication in my realm. I've worked really hard to lift myself up out of that way of thinking and being. Oh, man, you're a really close family member. Got to block you. Someone that I looked up to as a kid. I got to block you. Can't talk to you. Can't communicate with you. And in that particular instance, withstanding a lot of abuse just because of the relationship, going, I love you, bro. All good, man. All good. All good. And then that one text comes in. XYZ, you did this, you did that. I go, none of that's true. You're really struggling right now. You're in a deep well of suffering. I can't have this language in my sphere. If there was something for me to take accountability for, by all means, thank you for the reflection. Knowing that there's no truth in the words at all, it's just a complete uprising of their inner atmosphere. I'm sorry, but we can't continue here. This is where our paths diverge. And that's okay. Maybe they'll come back. I'm not closing the door on you. And I think people, they used to say this thing to us when we were in the NFL. They would say things to us like, the people that got you here can't necessarily be the people that are going to go with you the rest of the way. And that's with anything in life, especially when we have that awakening, which is essentially coming into radical accountability for ourselves. And we start to have a vision of who we are and what we want to be and how we want to be in our life. And you have that vision, that golden palace in your mind's eye, and you fix your vehicle to that trajectory of assuming that role. There's going to be people that's crabs in the bucket trying to pull you back down, trying to bring you back. They're going to be mad. They're going to be mad that you're such a big dreamer, that you want such goodness, that you want love, that you're about acceptance and peace. There's going to be people who hate that because it goes against everything in their inner constitution, everything that they live for and that they believe is true and right, because that's what they've guided their life by. They're going to fucking hate that you're striving to be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be, to be impeccable with your word and live in integrity and be clean and live in love and have joyous, compassionate, deep relationships. People are going to fucking hate that. Unfortunately. And that's not that any way is better. As interesting as that sounds, my preferred route is this one. Into light, into love, into joy, into peace. Dude, I was out there, and we live on this farm in Wimberley. I woke up early one morning and stepped out the back door, just put my feet in the grass, and I'm watching the sun come through the clouds, and this like warm breeze is blowing through the trees, and I just burst into tears. It's like, this is what I've wanted my entire life. And I made it here based on following my instincts, following my intuition, following spirit. I didn't get here by doing what somebody else wanted me to do. And I feel really blessed and grateful and in awe of how miraculous life is, And that's another thing about the meditation is like, at some point you cross through this boundary where life is the miracle. You're living the miracle, because there's this moment over the last 2 years, 3 years, I've been descending into this anchor point of living the miracle.
Yes.
Because there was a moment where I was really down. Because when I started meditating, when you start meditating, you're just having epiphanies and your mind's fucking blown and you're getting clear and clean and you're having these orgasmic revelations about who you are in your life. And then one day that just kind of quiets down and isn't there anymore because you're fucking living the miracle, dude. It's like, yeah, you go to the ayahuasca ceremony and you start chanting the name of your future beloved, and then they show up in your life the next day. That's just God, bro.
That's living the miracle.
Yeah, that's living the miracle. That's the miracle happening. And it's, and we want to go like, why?
Yeah, what's going on? I need advice. I need help.
And then that's the next place.
Yeah, that's the next place to grow. Like, absolutely.
This is just how it is.
And I think what it's there for me at least, is how I'm choosing to view it, is like, you're living in truth. Keep living in truth.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
this is a sign, a wink, that you're on the path, and that you are deep on the path, and that you are here to guide others. And how real is this? Start meditating more. Like, can you add a meditation 2 minutes before the podcast starts? Can you meditate in bed at night? Can you meditate between meetings? Can you deepen your connection with me in any way? That is what it called me to do after the ceremony.
Yeah, I feel that, dude. And you're absolutely right. That's the validation of everything you've been doing. It's working. Me being in Wimberley, this opportunity. It's like, that's God happened. God happened and is happening in my life. And I'm sitting there looking out the window of the kitchen with a cup of coffee in my hand going, I didn't even do anything, dude.
Yes.
I picked up a phone. Literally. I picked up a phone and I said my desire out loud. I said, hey man, thinking of moving to Austin. Oh, hey, you know who you need to talk to? This person. Boom. There in the kitchen going, this is what I've wanted for the last 2 years. Land, space, quiet, an opportunity to get really fucking intentional with how I'm living. Just happened, bro.
Because you said the truth.
Yeah. It just happened. But like you said, and this is another thing, Danny, that I'm sure you'll agree with. The meditation, you can live your meditation.
Yes.
You live your connection with God through you. Every moment, dude. You go and you get in your car. You're living your connection with God. Live it. Don't get lost out there. Don't get lost. Coming back to a million distractions. They're all there. Connect with God over and over again, right here, right now. You can do it. You don't even have to close your eyes.
Yes.
And that's when the shit really kicks off.
So when you say that, you get in the car and you live in God. It's like, I went in an Uber about 2 weeks ago. I posted this on Instagram, so I got to tell a story on the podcast for the first time. Of course, it's coming out with you. It's like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm in an Uber, and the guy starts pointing out every girl, being like, how attractive is she? How hot is she? How hot is she? How hot is she? I'm like, all right. It's like, all right, yeah, like we got to talk about this. What does this mean about you? What's going on in your psyche? I've been there. No judgment. I've thought every woman was attractive and that I was feeling a need and urge to be with them. Then we start talking about it. It starts getting deeper. I start asking questions about, what was your parents like? What's your relationship status like? What is coming up in you in your last relationship? Why did it end? he's coming to these realizations. He's coming to these insights. He's like, bro, how do I learn more about this? I'm saying, you got to read this book, Maps of Consciousness Explained. I don't know if you've read it, by David Hawkins.
I haven't, but I love all of David Hawkins.
So good.
Yeah.
So I
That's
said,
on my list for sure.
So I end the Uber with him being like, dude, I was just at a strip club and I prayed to God to find answers, and you just hopped into my Uber. And I was like, my man, I know. That's living with God. A week later, I order an Uber. I get in the car, and the Uber driver is reading a book. And I realize this is the same Uber driver as last week.
It's amazing.
And he's reading Maps of Consciousness Explained, the same book that I recommended to him a week earlier. I've never had two of the same Uber drivers in my entire life.
Yeah.
And the kicker on top is he drives me to meet my parents, who are like kind of skeptical about the whole thing that I'm living. And it's like, what do you like? Explain that. And so when this happens to you enough times, you don't have a choice. Yeah. You don't have a choice but to deepen, to live with God. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, dude. Well, you don't have a choice. I mean, what else are we going to do, man? What else are we going to do? We could live as unintentionally as we want. We can live as distracted as we want. Do it for as long as you want.
Try it.
Yeah.
We've tried it.
Done it, man. It doesn't lead anywhere fulfilling. It doesn't lead anywhere that you feel good at the end of the day going, yeah, that was it. Scrolling Instagram. Hell yeah. Looking at chicks' asses, drinking, 6 beers, working the job that feels like a grind. Yeah, I did it. Nobody feels like that. You don't feel like that at the end of it. You feel empty. I want to feel full, man. We're here to be full. We're here to live. We were not built for this, whatever this experience is that we've created around ourselves, we're not built for it, dude. We're built to be connected to the earth, to each other, to animals. We're built to be connected to God. So it's interesting to see where is this going for me? I mean, because I feel like such a massive level was achieved as far as creating this getting myself into this physical space that's a manifestation of my psycho-spiritual atmosphere, desires, we're going to start with a retreat, Heal and Flow, March 23 and 24, so we'll start there. And then, I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't know where it's going. I'm happy to be connected with you. Where I have no idea. Last night, dude, I slept like shit. Didn't really sleep. I woke up, fell asleep for about 2 hours, woke up, I was so nauseous. Tried to throw up, couldn't throw up. Went back, took some enzymes, drank a little water, laid back in bed, was tossing and turning, had to get up and go to the bathroom a bunch of times, didn't sleep well. Got up at 5:30 this morning, did breath work, did some yoga, did my meditation, went in, took a hot shower. My lady's like, I said, great job getting up, because I thought that I wasn't sure you were going to get up when you did. And I just did it. She goes, how are you feeling? I said, I'm tired, but I'm positive. Today's a good day, dude. Today's a fucking miracle. And I could have easily been like, fuck. Been there, done that too. This is the testament to me of the process, of the practice. This is the testament. Being able to have that night and go, there's a message in that too. There's a message. There's something in there for me. Waking up nauseous. I feel like I'm moving through it currently. Waking up, feeling nauseous, feeling like I got to get something out. Going, there's something here for me. You know, and waking up and just being grateful for another opportunity to do it again. And be sharper, be more clear, be more intentional.
There's something really important about taking the things that your previous version of you would view as negative and be like, what is this trying to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
What is the sign that I'm getting for this?
Yeah.
You said something before that I really want to circle back to, which is about coming from a family of healers. I felt more and more, especially since hosting the retreat and just how people are showing up with me, that my presence is healing a lot of people.
It is, man.
And I feel deeply connected to other people who are healers as well. And since you've thought about this longer than I have, I'm just curious what you know about coming from a soul or feeling like your family is one of healers. Like, what does that mean? Where does that come from? What, like, of questions, you know?
Well, historically, my first American ancestor was this woman, Mary Bliss Parsons. She came to America in 1640s with her husband. She was put on trial for witchcraft 3 times, got off every time. Her and her husband was like an elite and ran the city that they created, Northampton, Massachusetts. And there's a bunch of books written about her. My grandma turned me on to her and our lineage, and she was descended from Druids, and the Druids were the Vikings who came to the British Isle and built Stonehenge and all that, and were sort of these elite sages who created the structure of society. And these books written about her, she talks about all sorts of things that are just mind-blowing, like the stars, astrology, the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, how to eat, how to treat the planet, how to live, clarity of mind, Hermetic alchemy. Are you familiar?
No. I have a lot to learn.
I'll give you some books.
Please.
It's just fundamental knowledge for mastering your humanity, which is essentially where we're going here, you know, and mastering yourself. And there's a book, The Kybalion. You should check that out. Written by the 3 initiates. 7 principles of Hermetic alchemy, as above, so below, cause and effect, law of polarity, law of gender. And it's essentially the structure of the universe, like how universe functions energetically. The all is mind, the universe is all mental. Things that you've probably come across in your own experience. So it's good. I mean, I'm in a big phase myself. I feel a deep hunger as a student and learning new things. I'm thinking about going back to school and getting a degree in psychology, so maybe I could be a therapist, or at least like it's really about building my knowledge base. I'm craving knowledge right now. And that was a big part of my journey over the last 7 years, especially with my mentors, was this deep study of ancient, esoteric, biblical scripture writing that outlines the human experience, and understanding that, and shamanism and all of these ancient practices that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. Yoga is truly on the deepest level, yoga is neuroscience and physiology and biology all rolled up into a physical practice, or at least what we know as a physical practice in the West. I mean, it's deeply mental and spiritual, you know. The postures are just these interesting ways to get your body in to ignite all sorts of hormonal changes and flow of cerebral spinal fluid and all of that stuff. realigning brain chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, all of that stuff, adrenaline, cortisol. You're getting into the lymph nodes and the adrenal glands. And so, like, immersing yourself in this knowledge is key for you as you develop yourself as a healer, which essentially you're already doing it, dude. It's just about you being centered and clear. That's where the healing community goes off course, is because the ego comes in and you start to think, I'm the healer, I have the power.
Right.
But really, you're just the vessel. You're the vessel for God to move through you to awaken another person's divine aspect, you know? And so as a healer, whatever it is, dude, you know, like you said with me, like, I'm in the room with you and you just feel at peace. Like, that's what everybody's always said. And that's nothing I'm doing. Right. I'm not doing anything.
That's everything you're not doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not in my head.
My ego, when I was younger, my ego would go, everybody feels at peace around me. What do I got to do? You know, how do I got to be here to make everybody feel at peace? And I was like, dude, it doesn't fucking matter what I do.
Exactly.
It's just me being me. You know, I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. It doesn't matter, you know? And that is the truth of the healer's journey, is getting really clear and clean and anchored in your center. Because then you just show up into a room. You're not trying to be anything. You just touch people on the shoulder. I mean, all the spiritual gurus, they're so clean and clear. You know, there's stories of guys like Vivekananda, Osho, even just performing Shaktipat on people. They literally just touch them on the forehead and they go into these spasms of orgasmic bliss because they're just so clear and clean and they're transmitting that information. You know, something my mom and I talk about all the time, and going to a yoga class is an interesting experience of this, but what is the transmission you're receiving from a teacher?
Yes, I think
beyond the words. In a podcast, dude, in a conversation, when you just you cross paths with somebody, there's a transmission of information and energy that touches you on a subtle level that you feel and know as truth. That's beyond their words. It's beyond anything they could say. They could be saying life is rainbows and butterflies, and meanwhile you feel like sewage coming into you. Yeah. Because on the inside there's something corrupted or there's something out of alignment. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't land right. You leave the yoga class, you leave the conversation feeling kind of like, I gotta like take a shower, or I gotta cry for an hour. You know, so, and vice versa. Somebody could be giving you some real hard truth and you come away feeling enlightened. Yeah. And so it's really about, as a healer, cleaning and clearing the vessel and being present and centered in you, beyond ego and the God center, just being allowed to be in allowance of your own being, essentially. It's like, what do they say? Like Ram Dass, like Neem Karoli Baba is this old guy in a blanket who lived in an ashram. He slept on a floor, you know? And people would come and just be blown away by him. He wasn't doing anything. Yeah. They couldn't even understand what he was saying. You know, he was speaking another language, but just being in his presence because his energy was of utter acceptance and allowance and love. So that blasts you into a psychedelic experience of your own, of going, wow, I'm that love too? I can be loved like that too? Yes. You know? So there's a lot of really cool stuff out there and great information. I mean, and you're already doing it though, like reading the maps of levels of consciousness. That's a great book. Power versus Force blew my fucking mind. Letting go. It's pivotal for me. You know, the 4 agreements, just like gathering the knowledge so that you just know, you have because you're already having the experience, and Carl Jung said, study without experience is meaningless. Experience without study is meaningless. You got to marry the two. And that's when the magic, the miracle emerges, especially as a teacher or a healer or a student. Master teacher is a master student.
Yes. It's exactly how I started my retreat. I said, listen, guys, I'm a student of all this stuff as much as anyone.
Love that, dude.
And it's like, I don't want to be anyone's guru. And I just want to say the truth, and I want to learn, and I want to learn from all the people that I'm quote unquote teaching, right? Because they're teaching me more than I'm teaching them in many cases.
Yeah.
I just had tears come to my eyes just now because I was like, oh my God, the blessing that we both stumbled on all of this stuff, and that we actually said yes to it. Because there's a version of me that's picking up Eckhart Tolle and is like, this is bullshit. And it's like, oh no. Like, I just want to be like, I want to hold.
Was that the beginning?
It was, it was the beginning in two different senses. It was in college, I was partying and drinking and that whole thing. And I read The Power of Now and opened up to the first chapter, and my grandma gave it to me, and I was like, what is this guy saying? I was like, remember falling asleep while reading it multiple times. Okay, that's not available for this time. And then maybe 3 years later, I pick up A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, I started meditating and doing yoga in 1 month and reading A New Earth, and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is the deepest truths I've ever read in my entire life. And nothing was the same after reading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And 3 years prior, I was reading it and it was just not, it was not clicking in any way. So I'm like, tears come into my eyes because I'm like, how grateful is it that we get the opportunity to say yes to some of this stuff? Like, what a blessing that is. You ever think about that? Were you always open to this, or because of how you were raised, or was it a deeper unfoldment that happened in 2016, 2017?
I was always interested.
Right.
Always interested and open. And you're absolutely right. There's a world where I said, fuck all that. So, let's keep being a barbarian. Let's just keep smashing our way through life. I don't think that would have ended very well. Might have already been over. So absolutely. I'm grateful that I've always been interested in this. It's always been just in my cells, something calling me, something more than what I was experiencing physically. Going, hey, I've just come this way, man. Come this way, and, my mom had a miscarriage, like right after I was born, right before my brother was born. It was like a bad miscarriage where the baby came out and was either stillborn or had passed, or came out and was way too premature and passed. And my mom was pretty devastated by it. And then, months later, or maybe it was after my brother was born, her and her friend went to this psychic conference somewhere in New York. And they were at this medium giving a talk, and they were sitting in the front row, and the medium shouts out, someone right here. My mom was sitting in the front row with her friend. Someone right here. There's an old woman coming in with a deformed baby. And my mom was like, and the way they described her, she was like, oh, that's my grandmother, and that's my son. And the medium said, the baby just wants to thank you because you were the perfect mother to bring him into this world to do what he needs to do, which is be a guardian for your sons. And when my mom told me that story, it wasn't that long ago. It's like, oh, I've always felt that. Divinely guided, guarded by some presence that has always been here, you know. I feel very blessed for that. And perhaps that's been a part of, you know, just the slight nudges, man, because fuck, dude, it's been dark. It's been really dark before. It's been very dark and could have easily gone a bad way.
Yeah.
You know?
Someone is listening to this right now and they have a friend they're sending it to who is in that dark place right now in the first year or the first month of that darkness. What do you tell that person right now?
You have to have faith, man. You have to have faith. I know people that, you know, have had family members commit suicide, and that seems to be the differentiator, having faith. Without faith, it's very bleak. If you don't believe in God, if you feel like this is all just chaos and a coincidence that we're here, it's dark. It's a dark reality we live in, man. Some people live in that reality and want to deny God or have not seen any evidence of God in their life. It's a really dark experience. Life is bleak as fuck if you don't have faith, man. So having faith, you don't have to have faith that it's God. Have faith that tomorrow's a new day, if nothing else. And when you're in that dark place, do the contrary action, man. We have there's two paths we can essentially go down when we're in a dark place. We feel low. I've done them both. You can go into the vices, you can numb it, you can push it away, you can suppress it, or you can nourish yourself. You can allow it. You can take the day to get out in the sun, go for a walk, take good care of yourself, get the good workout in, go see friends, watch a funny movie, take a nap. You can do either one, man. Either one. One of them, the suppression, the pushing away, the numbing, that's going to lead you into more pain. The nourishing yourself is going to lead you to heal. So if we can train ourselves, because a lot of times it's built into our paradigm, it's built into our behavioral system that we just choose to numb it because it's too much. So if you can, when you come to that crossroads and you're feeling heavy, you're feeling dark, you're feeling down, if you can go that nourishing pathway, take better care of yourself that day. Hey man, tomorrow's a new day. The sun will rise again. I'll have another opportunity. Things will be a little lighter tomorrow. Have faith. Faith and fear, man. They're both on the precipice of the unknown. You either take the leap of faith or you go into fear. Either way, the unknown is on the other side. What do we choose, man? I choose faith every time. Whatever it is, dude. Whatever it is. You know, and I have to. I don't have a choice, you know? If I want to do what I want to do and be of service and live to my highest potential as a human being of whatever that means as far as my destiny here, just to be of service to people, to be of service to allowing people to feel like they can be themselves. Dude, anytime I come back to that reminder, I'm like, who gives a fuck about the pod or social media? I'm like, my purpose is when I walk out the door. My purpose is when I wake up in the morning. It's here, dude. Lift people up. And I don't even have to do anything.
That's right.
Just let my energy ripple into the atmosphere, you know? And have faith, man. Have faith. It's either faith or fear. And on the other side of that dark place is the light, I guarantee you. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I've come through it myself, and people in far worse situations have done it too. You know, I got to spend time, I mean, one of the interesting, rides I've gone on over the last 8 years was doing a podcast with Mike Tyson for 18 months, doing hot boxing, and getting to see this man who'd been through hell, been to hell many times and come back, picked himself up over and over again. Tragedies, difficulty like most of us can't even imagine. You can't even comprehend the pain. And this guy shows up with a smile on his face and a gentle heart and open and willing to see another day. I'm like, fuck.
If he can do it.
If he can do it, anybody can do it. And anyone can do it. You don't even need an example. You know the feeling, man.
Yeah.
Trust, have faith. That's the best we can do, realistically.
What I love about this is that it's something that you decide when you're in the brink of depths of fuck. That darkest place, you're choosing faith or fear. Like you make a choice in that moment. And then what I love about it is like, I am very far from that darkest place right now. But you still, it's the same decision, same question.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Always. It's always there. You got to choose it when you're in it. You got to choose it when you're not in it.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to be in the good and the light when it's good and light. So yeah, of course. Let's choose this. Let's be in this. Let's honor this. Let's be grateful for this. And then when it gets hard and feels heavy and tough, now you got to really choose it.
When you wake up and you're nauseous and you can't sleep, it's like, all right, just meditation, breath work,
what's going on
yoga.
here?
Like
What's
you chose
going on?
this morning.
Yeah.
And that allowed you to show up as a clear vessel in a new way, in a way that you knew you could. And that's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Feels like it, man. Because the version of me a little while ago might not have been capable of that, Just being able to say, I don't have to do anything but be me. There's a great line that resonates big with me, and it's resonated big with me for a few years of really understanding what it means. But if I want to be free, I've got to be me. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. It sounds silly almost saying it. It's no truer words have ever been uttered. And it goes on to say, not the me I think you think I should be. Not the me I think my parents think I should be. I've got to be me. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. You've got to move from this place, man. Only this place. And that in itself takes living in faith. That's the constant choice right there of living in faith of, I know what's best for me. Or not even I, something beyond my knowing that's moving through me knows what's best for me beyond anything outside of me. And choosing that over and over again, having faith. There's tons of good examples, and is it your relationship with God? It's definitely entwined in that. Whatever that is, we can call it God. But trusting that, and you're praying for a certain life. You're praying for something to happen, right? You're praying, and then your whole life gets obliterated. And people go like, whoa, what the fuck, man? I've been praying for money and stability and wealth. And God's like, bro, you can't have that until you clear out all this bullshit. So yeah, we have to obliterate what's here because this isn't going to get you there. So that we can build a totally new foundation, fresh from scratch, so that you can get where you're wanting to go. Got to trust, man. When the whole thing falls apart and you've been praying for rain, it all falls apart. You're like, this is not what I thought. This is not what I intended, dude. This is not where I saw myself going. Okay, God, I guess so. Just having faith, man, over and over again when it looks like Holy shit, dude. I'm talking to myself here. I'm talking to myself. Going, okay, man. All right. I trust you. Trust you. You've gotten me this far. I'm asking for this. I trust that you are going to bring me what I desire beyond anything I could have possibly imagined or envisioned. And it's going to be on your terms, not on my terms. I mean, I don't, it's like, yeah, I can have a vision. I can hold desires about what I want my life to look like. Then you got to get out of the way and let God do what God does.
Because you know how to get there better than I do.
Exactly, dude. I don't know. I want to get here. I don't even know how to get here, but I don't need to know how to get here because God's going to put one brick in front of the other that's going to give me the knowledge and the experience that I need to achieve this.
Yes. You have perfect information for what you need to know right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so disconcerting.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I want more information.
Yeah.
I want to know how this is going to work out.
Yeah.
Then I could trust better. No, just trust now.
Totally.
You have perfect information.
Exactly, dude. It's a hard pill to swallow in this day and age. We've been conditioned to
Google. If
we follow these steps, we'll be successful. We'll make money. We'll have the home. We'll have the partnership. We'll have the stuff, and we'll be good, man. We'll be happy. It'll be successful. And then inevitably, almost everybody gets there and goes, what the fuck is going on, dude? I don't want any of this stuff. Or at least I don't feel fulfilled or whole or any different than I did when I started out, because there's always something to do. There's always more to do. The wanting to do more, though, is not about the getting more. It's about expanding yourself. It's about bringing more of you to the party, bringing more of you to the experience of life so that you can enjoy more, you can be more, essentially. That's kind of the thing. That's the funny thing of, does money buy you happiness? No, if you think that money's going to do that. Now, you can be very happy and have a lot of money, but it's not because of the money. If you think the money's going to equate to being happy, you're going to be really sorely disappointed. And yes, money provides you with a lot of happiness when you have it because, yeah, you've got freedom. You don't have to worry about money. How much time do I spend thinking about how I'm going to pay bills? I spend a lot of time on that. And that's a necessary part for me of getting clean and getting accountable in my own life, is like developing my relationship with money and having a real financial foundation, which I've never had before, which is amazing, So I've had the firsthand experience of like, God, okay, I want financial stability and financial security. Okay, yeah, you're going to have no money to pay any bills this month. Or it feels like I'm not going to be able to pay bills this month. And then all of a sudden some miracle happens and I pay the bills, or my whole life radically changes. I'm in Wimberley living on a farm. It's like, okay, I see. And hey, Eb, check out this program. Here's this mentor. Here's this person. Talk to them about money. Talk to them about business. Talk to them about how they built what they're doing. Talk to them about their programs. Oh, I need to develop my emotional relationship with money. I need to get emotionally involved with money and my own knowledge base around money. I think in this world, at least it's been a revelation for me, especially being a young kid, making it to the NFL, getting a ton of money really young. We take for granted this getting money thing. It's just like, get money. Just make money. We just make money, it'll be there. It's supposed to be there. But really, when you study people who have been masters of prosperity, it's about developing a fucking deep relationship with money, an emotional connection with it, and that's not about having a yacht and having a bunch of stuff. It's about being spiritually secure and free to live,
Yes. Have you heard the audio tape Prosperity Consciousness?
No, but I'm going to listen to it.
Yes, I'm going to send it to you right after this. It is such a hidden gem. I've actually never mentioned on this podcast.
Who is it?
This guy, Frederick Learman.
Okay. I'm in, dude.
Dude, I started listening to this in December, and I've just seen my entire world transform in the best ways in terms of money. And I've been like, whoa.
Feel that.
I've listened to it 2 or 3 times, and I'm going to listen to it again this month.
I would love to hear
Prosperity Consciousness.
I love that.
Search on Audible, and I'll send it your way.
Done.
Yeah.
Listening to that in the car ride home.
Let's go. Let's go. Tell me about the retreats and where that's going.
So the retreats feel, the podcast feels like the bread and butter of just getting reps on the mic and reps connected, using my voice, sharing my experiences, my wisdom, strength, hope, all that. But these events feel like my favorite thing to do, and it starts with Heal and Flow. Heal and Flow is our event, my partner and I's event. This will be our 4th one. First one in Texas and Wimberley, March 23 and 24. We do yoga, we do breath work, we do ice tubs. Force of Nature provides all the meat, all regenerative farmed meat, the best on the planet. We've got great supplements, some of the best supplements on the planet, from Sun Potion and Quicksilver Scientific and Strong Coffee, and turning people on to really good things, nourishing things. So that's the physical part, but really it's about coming and connecting with a group of like-minded people who are on this journey of self-realization and connecting to God and connecting to themselves. And so it's really a 2-day reset where people come in one place, maybe a little closed off, a little shut down, and come out the other side totally blown open in tears, hugging everybody and laughter. It's like you've seen it. It's the most incredible thing I've ever experienced, and I love it so much. I love to be able to provide people with a space to have this experience with themselves, And like you said, I'm here literally just providing a container for you to do the work. Because it's on you. It's all you, man. And so Heal and Flow, we've done 2 a year the last couple years. I think we'd like to build that to doing a quarterly event. We definitely are doing 2 this year, for sure. Maybe more. Might be doing one in the Caymans. So that's really exciting. I've also got my 6-week men's workshop, The Wild King. So that starts April 14th. That's virtual. I'm looking to do this one. The first one I did was all virtual. This one I would like to do a gathering. Bring all the men together, get a workout in, do ice tubs, circle around the fire, eat a great meal, connect with each other. I think what's more powerful than that for me? And then I'm teaching at a handful of events. One in Italy in May 18th to 25th, with my dear friend Jared Picard, who's the founder of Be Here Farm and Nature, which makes these incredible biodynamic products. One of them being the summer solstice serum, which, I'm not really big on skincare. I kind of let my lifestyle dictate the the health of my skin. But his product is a miraculous elixir that your skin absolutely loves. He takes biodynamic olive oil infused with St. John's wort and these 7 other cure-alls, which are just like ancient herbal remedies for curing everything from staph infections to viral infections, all bacteria, all of that stuff. And you can use this on your body and your hair. It's fantastic. He puts this olive oil infused with all of these things. This is interesting. I got to share this. Puts it in a greenhouse and just lets the cycle of the moon and the sun for 21 days cures this stuff. There's no other processing that goes into it. It's as pure and clean and nourishing a product as you will ever find. Once you experience it, it actually changes how you look at food and anything that you're putting in or on your body, because you realize how much shelf time affects the efficacy of things. And anyway, Jared does world-class retreats. This first one will be in Italy, May 18 to 25, teaching yoga. We're staying at this incredible, their version of a regenerative farm villa in Umbria, Italy. I'll be teaching yoga and breath work. There's a profound musician, our dear friend Sonia, who's also known as Dopero. You can check her out. Incredible singer, voice activation, chanting, cacao ceremony, along with all the Italian adventures. That'll be a lot of fun. And then June, we're going to the Snake River, whitewater rafting. That'll be a 5-day camping trip, whitewater rafting down the Snake River for the summer solstice. It's going to be epic. So
you got information on this somewhere?
Everything is on Instagram and my link tree. Just hit the link tree, and also, shoot me a DM, dude, if you're interested in any of this. You want to just connect with me. I've also just started my Life and Flow group mentorship program on School, which is I love it. We're doing weekly group live calls every week, jumping on a call with me, go for about an hour and a half, share on a topic, time for questions and answers. Everything that I've ever learned in my entire life, I'm putting every resource, link, yoga flow, breathwork, guided meditation, it's all there. So anything if you want to connect with me, hit me up on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's really special because I know that if somebody lives in your energy, they will change their state. And I can say that confidently because I've lived in your energy for the last 2 hours, and I feel such a deep sense of peace, a more full and true expression of who I am. And I'm already somebody living in that.
Yeah.
And I feel your presence and I feel your way of being. It really can heal and impact so many people. And the fact that you're offering so many of these services in terms of retreats, in terms of community, really speaks to you pouring life into people and what that is going to do for so many human beings and what it's already doing for human beings. So thank you for being you, man. And keep it up on the path because it's so beautiful to witness, and keep choosing faith.
Thanks, dude. You're the best, bro.
I love you, man.
I love you. Thank you, Danny.